I could. Yeah. What time's the flight Friday night? Is it late or is it early?
No, it's like 9:45.
That's not so bad. 9:45 out of what airport? Oakland? Oh,
Yeah.
good. Okay. 9:45. Good.
Yeah.
All right. I'll be having bagels with my grandsons at
Yeah, I told them.
at 8 o'clock.
I told Gavin and I told Mason. Make sure you have the bagels there waiting.
You told them?
I did. Well, of course, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll be there at really early, like we arrive at 6:28.
6:28.
6:28.
We get there by the time we're taking an Uber there to the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Kokoski's big night. I got to go live. This is it. We're going for the. We're going to shake.
The Army knife? The Swiss
Yeah,
Army
we're going for the Swiss Army knife deal.
knife. Okay, Jeff, this is your moment.
This is Jeff's moment.
You'll
So
be watching too.
just a minute, because I'm still not clear on how to run some of these buttons.
Or you can go get contacts.
I'll get contacts next time.
Okay. Are you live?
Am I what?
Are you live?
Yeah, I am live.
Oh.
I'm moving like an old man though.
I'm Jerry Maddox.
And I'm Ryder Maddox in sunny California.
And you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, hosted by Joe Abbate.
Good evening, everyone. I'm LeVar Burton, and you're watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
LeVar Burton.
Yes, actually, I'm Joe Abbate, and you are watching Vintage Motocross Q&A live on Facebook. As always, my wonderful and beautiful associate, sidekick, and bride, Sue Abbate, is with me. Susie, say hello to everyone.
Hello.
Okay, and what else are we going to do? Oh, we're going to thank our sponsors before we get rolling here just a bit. Motion Pro Vinco, Preston Petty Products, ReplicaMotorcyclePark.com, Racer X, the International Motocross Museum, Full Circle Racing, and my good friend Mike Chamberlain. This is the weekend. If you haven't noticed or you are not on your way, you are supposed to be in Athena, Oregon in just a couple of short days for Ho Daka Days. George Ackerman, thank you so much for showing support for Vintage Motocross Q&A. The Moto Barn has a great event this weekend too. They've also got their mini bike display up in full swing. Al Roof, how's things going down there in North Carolina? Thank you for being a supporter of Vintage Motocross Q&A. As I mentioned, Mike Chamberlain, Fred Hudgens from Durf Cycles, Sean Gooms from FastGuysStuff.com, and on the wall behind me, all the people that stepped up to the plate over the past couple of weeks, including Tom Miller, Al Keith, Carl Word. Who else is back there, Susie? Jake Stocker, we got him up there. Tyler McGregor, Keith Geisner, Tim Vasquez, of course, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, Al Roof, you've been a supporter for a long time. Somebody else gave us the $49.95 and said they were going to continue on supporting us by the month, but they didn't want their name on the board. So they said, we just want this, VMXQ&A supporter. So that's the way they want to do it, and that's the way we are going to do that. Don't forget to keep sharing the show, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, please comment Motion Pro or mention any of our other sponsors as well. You keep sharing the show. A little bit later on, we are going to have a viewer appreciation prize, and this week it's going to be a poster from the International, the International Motocross Museum has got a one of those 10 posters, and you let us know, or Susie's going to let me know who she chooses, and we'll get your address And yeah, we'll get you a poster just like that. Over the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about leak down tests in two-stroke engines and air leaks. It's been really a big success. A lot of people have sent in questions about that or said they've enjoyed it very much. I've got part 3 coming up tonight from Roy Vanderveer, and we're going to get down to the real nitty-gritty with Roy here in just a second. This is the one that wraps it up, though, from Roy. Regarding the leak down test, and I have Roy's video here somewhere. Come on, Roy, where are you?
Take your time, it's there, you'll find it.
Ah, here he is, Roy, the top secret folder.
There it is.
Greetings to all. Roy Vanderveer here, back for part 3 of our how to resolve air leak problems. Our victim is a KDX 200, and it had a pretty significant air leak around the reed valve. And in our previous episode, we were able to identify that the leak was not only at the reed cage, but it was in between the intake manifold and the reed block. And I'm just going to show you how I resolve this. There's an O-ring cast into the manifold right here, and 23 years ago it was raised enough to provide an adequate seal around the reed block, but time and age have taken its toll. The rubber gets hard. All of a sudden that O-ring is not sticking up anymore like it used to. The rest of the manifold's in pretty good shape, so it's pretty unlikely that somebody's going to toss this in the trash, but it's not doing what it needs to do. So I always resort to my good friend Yamabond 4, Honda Bond, Cowie Bond, whatever brand you want to choose. These are all made by the same people, which is 3 Bond, and under their brand it's 3 Bond 1184. It's a semi-drying liquid gasket, so it never dries all the way. I'm going to pull this away for a moment, and we're just going to put a bead right on top of where that O-ring is. And I'm going to leave a little bit of thickness to that. I don't want it to lay flat. I want it to protrude up just a little bit. And then I usually just take my finger and kind of level things out a bit. But again, I'm leaving some thickness here. It's probably 1/16 of an inch thick maybe. And then what I do next is leave it sit here in the vise for about an hour and give it some time to tack up. That way when I assemble it, the sealer doesn't squirt out from all the edges, and it creates a renewed gasket around that surface. And with that, we should have a nice tight seal, no more air leak. If it had been leaking on the reed cage side with the gasket, I would use Permatex High Tack. This is the thing that I found that works best on cylinder base gaskets and reed block intake gaskets. That's all for now. Till next time.
I want to thank my good friend Roy Vanderveer for sending us some good stuff on the air leak segment, and we'll be hearing more from Roy in the future. He'll be making some more videos for us. Right now, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A.
I'm Ron Lasheen, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be right back.
Vinco, who already has a full line of vintage parts, now has air shocks that are an exact duplicate of the original air shocks so popular in the late 70s. So whether you're looking to build a full racer or museum showpiece, these shocks will give you that incredible 70s look and improve your bike's performance. These new air shocks are fully rebuildable with Vinco rebuild kits, and all shocks are hand assembled in the USA with all new components. Every component is brand new. Just like the originals, our air shocks are adjustable with 2 chambers, high and low pressure, giving you tremendous flexibility for settings of your bike suspension. The Ventco air shocks come fully assembled and ready for installation. Just add air or nitrogen. The kits include the manual and spacers. Visit Ventco.com to check out the air shocks and all that Ventco has to offer to help you get back on track and to keep that ride going.
Ventco, keep the ride going with over 1,000 products in their catalog. Get over there this week. They've got all new top-end kits for big bore Yamahas, your Hondas, just about every bike. And they've got complete crank kits, pistons, top-end kits, and so much more at Ventco.com. Thank you, Curtis Leverton. What's it worth? Brought to you by Full Circle Racing Limited. Be sure to get a hold of Tom Callister for all your nipples, spokes, truing, and lacing needs. He is truly a wheel smith. Where the word comes from, Will Smith. This week, we have a 1978 Harley-Davidson 250MX. This is, of course, the segment of the show where you guess how much you think this bike recently sold for, and I will come up with some beautiful gift for you. I don't know what it will be. You know, I've got something around here. So you take a good guess, okay? Here it is. Here's the bike. You tell me how much it went for. I will read to you what is going on here. 78 Harley-Davidson MX at 250, said to be one on the first owner's name on the title. It was required by the seller in 2014, which is a little confusing to me, but okay. Anyway, the subsequent refurbishment reportedly included installing a replacement seat, airbox, expansion chamber, exhaust system, orange refinished bodywork, the tires, as well as repainting the frame in orange. The MX 250 has a 243cc two-stroke single paired with a 5-speed transmission, a Del Auto carburetor, 21-inch and 18-inch wheels, respectively. They are Acron rims. The MX 250 offered here at no reserve for off-road use only. It comes with literature as well. The chromoly steel frame was refinished in orange as part of the refurbishment. Additional details include a white front number plate. It is the correct one, too, which I think is a real nice touch on this bike. Orange finish, high-mounted fenders. These are the original fenders. They have been painted. They did not come painted originally. I did see a set of NOS. An NOS rear fender was for sale on Facebook this week. It was $1,000 just for the rear fender. And I saw a used front for sale today, $500. So they are still bringing quite a bit of money. This bike is not equipped with a deployable side stand, but it does come with the correct stand that mounts underneath it like a wire, a heavy wire frame. The 243cc single-cylinder engine is finished in a satin black finish. Got the Kickstarter, which is chrome, the Del Auto carb, which is mentioned earlier. As the seller states, everything has been drained. The acquisition is ready to proceed, according to him, and according to this write-up. The bike has not been started since it has been refurbished. And I'm not a real big fan of never starting a bike. But anyway, it's got the correct Cheng shins on it, not the most expensive tire at the time, but that's what Harley had. And if you're keeping notes, there was an optional Goodyear tire available on these bikes between 1977 and 1978. It was installed. They were installed by the dealer. I see some nice touches on this bike. Like you see the reservoir there for the shock. It's a different color orange, which is correct. And it has those special clamps on it, which have a slotted oval groove in it. Not a groove, but an oval, slotted oval in that thinner looking clamp. Anyway, it is a beautiful bike. It was done very, very nicely. The only thing that, we could say about it is it has painted fenders, but I've restored 2 of these in my days, and I've owned 3, and I've had to put painted fenders on one of them. Anyway, how much do you think it sold for? $15,000? $18,000? This bike sold for a whopping $23,000. $23,000. If you want to know more about the details, go over to my Facebook page, Vintage Motocross Buyers and Sellers Price Guide page. Bill Mascio keeps that place running like a well-oiled machine. You'll find all about this Harley and a bunch of other bikes that have recently sold on auctions, on eBay, on Bring a Trailer. That's Vintage Motocross Buyers and Sellers Price Guide page on Facebook. $23,000. Lee McCallum, if you're watching, you have one for sale on Facebook. This one just brought 23 grand.
Rich Clark and Keith Zebra both got it on the nose. 3.
It's because they're members of the Vintage Motocross Buyers and Sellers Price Guide page. That's why they probably saw it there. Or they may have seen it on Bring a Trailer. But Z-Brake and who else?
Rich Clark.
Rich Clark?
Yeah, and Mike Sarkis said 22.3.
You know what, Mike Sarkis? Get a hold of me, Mike Sarkis. But I want to mention this about
Rich Clark?
no, Rich Clark bought a T-shirt, said $49.95. I want to thank him very, very much for showing support of the show. But our other buddy there, Keith.
Oh, Z-Brake.
Yeah, Z-Brake.
Yeah.
Keith Z-Brake not only bought a shirt, he bought stickers like 2 feet long of the Vintage Motocross Q&A logo. He's putting them on his trailer. I want to thank Keith so very, very much for taking our name on the road with him. He paid for the stickers. He bought a shirt. And he's got, we got a special shirt. He's got our logo on the back on a black shirt, and he's got a Suzuki S on the front. Keith Zaber.
And somebody else ordered it like that.
Yeah, somebody else saw that, and they want it like that too.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got to move on with the show. Have you ever heard of? You ever heard of a Hodaka? Of course you've heard of a Hodaka. I brought it up this week because it is, of course, this is the week that here it is right here. It's happening right now. June 27th through the 30th, Hodaka Days in Athena, Oregon. And it's happening. This is their 60th anniversary of Hodaka. And I brought it up for a good reason because there were some things about Hodaka that I didn't really know all that much about. And I'm going to tell you about them right now. Hodaka was a joint venture between Japanese and America and a company called Abbate, the company that manufactured motorcycles from 1964 up until, 1964 to 1978. Close to 150,000 motorcycles were produced within that time period. Prior to 64, Hodaka made engines for Yamaguchi motorcycles. The worldwide distributor for Hodakas was Abbate for Pacific Basin Trading Company. In the headquarters were the rural town of Athena, Oregon. Abbate designed and engineered a majority of the motorcycles, and Hodaka in Japan was responsible for the engine and manufacturing assembly. Abbate was owned by, I had no idea, Shell Oil Company from 1965 to 1978. The name Hodaka comes from a mountain near the factory that means to grow taller. The Oishi brothers, owners of Hodaka, had taken an extended trip to Europe in the late 50s, and during that time, they purchased close to 50 European and English motorcycles and took them all back to Japan to study them. I have heard of this from other manufacturers like Husqvarna, Osa, Mako. They will go out and buy all their competing brands and study them, put it into their model the next year. Anyway, it is also rumored Hodaka might have indeed designed the complete Yamaguchi SPB50, so not just the engine. Hodaka was also a producer of machine tools, and they've been said to have borrowed concepts from one of their quick change gear clusters and one of their metalworking lathes to construct the shift mechanism in a Hodaka gearbox. Starting at the manufacturer, Complete Motorcycle in 64, Hodaka Abbate is credited with by some with starting the trail craze in the United States. And boy, oh boy, who didn't have, or at least know someone who certainly had, a Hodaka. This was due to the many off-road design enthusiasts and so many people there at Abbate. In the second year of production, Hodaka experimented with rear valves. By some unknown reason, they dropped the idea, and subsequently Yamaha credited with the first to produce this power-enhancing feature. In the late 70s, a combination of events led to the demise of Hodaka. Falling U.S. dollar exchange rates against the Japanese yen, a shift in demand from dirt bikes to larger road bikes, and general economic weakness fatally wounded the company. Shell attempted to purchase Hodaka Company at one point, but the offer was rebuffed by Hodaka in Japan. Some of the tooling was later sold to Korean company Dalim, and Hodaka was closed in 1978. The book, which is authored by Ken Smith from Australia, has the most comprehensive history of the Hodaka motorcycle ever written. It is a fantastic book. Every year, the town of Athena, Oregon, holds an event in June, and it's happening this weekend. Now you know a little bit more about the Hodaka brand, a very, very popular bike amongst the teenagers in the early 70s, even younger kids on the dirt sport and the Ace 90s and the Ace 100s. Long history with the Hodaka brand. 2 people were actually sponsored by Hodaka. Only 2 factory riders. Can anybody name them? One guy won the Daytona 200. And the other guy is a very famous legendary motocrosser. Can you know him? You know who they are? for fun. Can you tell me? Oh, one other thing I want to tell you. Big thing going on Saturday. There's all classes for the bike show. Here it is. You got to get there to register at 10:30. Voting starts at 1:15. The show is from 1 to 4. There's going to be prizes followed by cider and donuts. You won't believe it. There'll be dancing girls, a beer garden. You won't believe everything that's going on at Hodaka Days. And, of course, a lot of our sponsors who help us out here at the show, from Motion Pro to Replica Motorcycle Parts and so on, they will all be there helping out with Hodaka Days. Does anybody know who the...
So it's David Dennis and Tommy Croft.
That's right. Tommy Croft was one of them.
David Dennis. Philip Liberty said Jody Weisel.
No, Jody Weisel was not a factory Hodaka rider, but Tommy Croft was.
Dennis.
And another much older guy. He passed away in the past 8 years, I think. Very much associated with Hodaka. Anyway, here's the problem segment tonight. This is something we bring up about every 4 or 5 months because I do wind up getting a question about it, and it is about removing dents from your expansion chamber. There are some people out there that do this. I have a little video about it, and I'd like to show it to you. So let's get over, and I'll show it to you right now. As I said, I bring this up about every 4 or 5 months. People ask me about it, and it's a great little video. Jordan helped me put it together. And we're going to show it to you right now. Sit tight, guys. I'll get to it.
Oh,
I said, sit tight, guys. I'll get to it.
you're sitting. No worries.
No worries, but
What? You'll find it.
I am sorry I am making you wait so long, guys. I just had it here a second ago.
You know, because you're on contact zone?
It may not be because of that, Susie, but dun dun dun. Here it is. On tonight's Next Time Try this segment, we're going to be talking about how to get a dent out of your pipe. This has been a topic on the show many, many times. We've often spoken about it, but I've never had the opportunity to make a video. We're going to get a closer look at some of the tools that we're going to be using to perform this little task. And yeah, it's really nothing more than this, which I'll give you a closer look at, and you'll understand how they work, and a bottle of MAP gas just like this. If you have a torch, that's always good too. So let's get a closer look, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, there are two caps that go on the end of the pipes, and they look just like this. This one will go on the back of your pipe where the stinger is. As you can see, the circumference of that piece of steel is a little bit narrower than it would be at the front. In between these two pieces of steel, the plate on the back and this circular piece, is a piece of rubber. When you put this thing on the pipe and you tighten up these 3 bolts, you're then going to tighten up these 2 bolts, and it's going to draw closer to the pipe and cause a seal between this piece of rubber. The piece that goes on the front, of course, at your header is a little bit bigger. They make these things quite large, so they will fit a variety of different pipes, and basically it works the same way. The circular piece of steel, the 3 bolts, of course, the rubber, that causes it to seal. Right here, you'll see there's a little hole in there. The purpose of that is, of course, to get the air, which you're going to use from your compressor. You're going to get air into the pipe, and you have a little gauge right here. We'll talk more about the pressure in just a minute. But basically, that is what these 2 little caps are. That's how they work. Let's put them on the pipe, and we'll continue on from there. First thing you want to do is maybe run these bolts in a little bit, just so the end of your pipe, the stinger, fits in there. This way you can run them down comfortably and make sure it's tight. You also want to leave a little gap. In other words, you don't want to tighten these end bolts too much. You want to have a little gap in there, so when you do tighten them, it presses down on the rubber, giving you a good seal. One thing I should have mentioned earlier too is you do want to make sure your pipe doesn't have any leaks in it. If there are any seams in your pipe that are cracked, you're going to want to make sure that you get those things sealed up so you don't have any leaks on the way. Now you can see there's a little gap right in there, so when I tighten these 2 bolts from the outside, we'll get a really good seal on the end of that pipe. Make sure everything is snug on here, especially these 3 bolts that go to the stinger. There's going to be some pressure in that pipe. It won't blow off. There's not going to be an explosion, but what will happen is it'll start to leak. You'll know right away because you'll be losing pressure. You'll see that from the gauge, plus you'll also probably be able to hear that. And here's the dent, by the way, that we're going to be working on. And we're going to do the same thing on this end. We'll run the bolts in a little bit. Tighten up these guys a little bit. And we should have a good seal there. We're going to add some air to the pipe. I bring it up to 40. From there, you're going to take your torch and you're going to want to keep it toward the edge. Heat up the edge, in other words, of the dent first. You want to heat it up. You want to get it cherry red. Again, I'm only using MAP gas here, but it works really, really well. So I go around to the edge of my dent, and slowly, gradually, you'll see that the air pressure does bring up the dent in the pipe. Well, there it is. I hope you enjoyed our little demonstration. There's still a little smoke coming out of that thing. But anyway, you can see that the dent has been removed. Remember, about 40 pounds of air pressure. You want to keep that area cherry red when you're doing it. Check your pipes for leaks before you begin. If you do have a pinhole here or there, you just need to keep the air pressure at 40 pounds. If you could repair those little dents with some brazing, that would really be best. Then you don't have to play with the pressure too much. And I did it all with these 2 pieces like this and a little MAP gas. So next time you get a dent in a pipe and you want to try and take it out and make it look a little more presentable, try that. There was one. Yeah, that went really, really well, I think, for us. And a lot of people ask me about that week after week, and I think it's good to show it every now and again, how to repair a pipe. That segment, I'm sorry. I just Here's the Problem segment is actually brought to you by Motion Pro. Be sure to visit them online at motionpro.com, and they are still offering you 20% off across the board if you put in the code MP9135. That's MP9135. And although that came up for Vinco, it is sponsored by Motion Pro, that segment. And you know what? On the next show, I got to thank Brian Webley because he came up with an absolutely excellent question. It was something he wanted to see done in a video. He wants to see how cables are made from Vinco. I actually have a kit here where I can make cables. And on an upcoming future episode of Vintage Motocross Q&A, I will take some time to record how to put those ends on a cable. It's really not that complicated, and I'm looking forward to showing you that. Brian, I know you posted the question, I think it was yesterday. There was no way I could have done the video in between yesterday and today, but we will get to that. In the meantime, we're going to take a little commercial break. We're going to hear from the International Motocross Museum, and then we'll be back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Hi, I'm Warren Reed. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be right back.
Motocross struck America, coming from Europe like a lightning bolt, striking the hearts and minds of people all across the country and the world. Battles of intense racing and cutting rivalries with loyalty to brands and heroes intensified as years of blood, sweat, and dirt flew through the minds of those memories of champions as they wrestled their machines through almost impossible tracks. But where are those past champions? And where are their bikes? Terry Good, an ex-pro motocross racer, has made it his life mission to honor these heroes and the bikes they rode to stardom. We raced, we rode, we lived and breathed motocross. Go back in time and relive those moments, now preserved for the first time ever in the world's first museum dedicated to the history of motocross. Our new building is in the gate. Help us get a great start and you can be part of history. Go to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org and become a part of our team.
The International Motocross Museum is a not-for-profit 501c3 company. No matter what you donate or if you go over there and buy some of the beautiful things they have for sale, it is 100% tax deductible. So go over to the International Motocross Museum.org. Throughout this program, I have been telling you about Hodaka Days. I've also been telling you it's this weekend. So before you get out there with your pants on fire, fill up your gas tank and load up your Super Rat and go up to Athena this weekend, you got to realize it's not until next weekend, June 27th through 30th. Okay? So everybody calm down, put your dirt squirt down and your Super Rats, and you got a whole week ahead of you to prepare. Okay? Oh, man. Anyway. Where was I? The International Motocross Museum. Yeah, and we're going to be giving away a poster here in just a little bit. Compliments of Terry Good and the International Motocross Museum. But right now in the Moto Showcase is what's brought to you by Preston Petty Products. Be sure to get over to PrestonPettyProducts.com. They've got all the plastic your heart desires and all the colors that have been popular for over 50 years. Thank you, Paul Stannard, Mike Murphy, and Preston Petty Products. This week in the Moto Showcase, we have a bike from down under. David Press from Australia sent this bike into us. It is a 1974 Honda CR125. He did an absolutely amazing job restoring this bike. I'll tell you all about it. Joe, thank you for featuring my bike on your show. I bought the 74 CR125 on eBay, Australia in 2021. It was rusty and rough, but most of the original parts were there. I'm a bit OCD about originality, so if you could not buy original parts, I restored them. I bought a zinc plating kit. I went to town plating hardware, even the silver, black, and gold. I had the frame and plastic parts painted. It was done by Advanced Motorcycling in Brisbane. I had the frame painted because that's what Mr. Honda did, and I do not like powder coating. I painted everything else except for the fuel tank myself. The forks were straightened and re-chromed by Rad Hard Chroming, also in Brisbane. I polished and painted the lower fork legs. I rebuilt the rear shocks myself with shafts and spring guides from RCM at my local hydraulic supplier. He had the rear shock seals. The fuel tank was restored by Gold Star Repairs in Picton, Australia. It was rusted with a large dent on one side. I was lucky enough to have the bike when I purchased it, I was lucky to have on the bike when I purchased it, or was able to obtain hard-to-find parts, like the OEM exhaust pickle, side covers, and front number plate. I also located a new, still in the original package, chain guide from South Australia, and I had to mortgage my house, in order to buy it. All chrome parts were plated by Gold Coast Electric Plating. The tires are original, 50 years old. The tires hold air. They fit the bike perfectly. When I leave the bike in the sun for an hour or so, they softened up, and the old rubber began to look absolutely beautiful again. The rims, I had those re-anodized also. There was no damage. I had OEM spokes when I rebuilt them. The engine cases and carburetor were vapor blasted at my local guy, and I rebuilt the engine myself. There is, of course, all new bearings and seals in my engine. The bore is standard. It measures within specs and was fitted with an OEM piston. It's got a standard piston and rings. I painted the engine with 2K heat paint. I was thrilled to have the judges choose my bike in the Sunshine Coast Motorcycle Club, where I took a first place. Well, congratulations, Jeff. You certainly did a beautiful job on the bike. Thank you for sending the motorcycle into us to feature here on Vintage Motocross Q&A. You guys really know how to do it down there in Australia. And I know parts are very, very difficult to come by. They can also be very, very expensive. But great job, Jeff. Thank you for sending us the bike. This is, of course, the part of the show that is called Did You Know? This is Jeff Kokoski's corner of the world. And let's just say that Jeffrey and I had, what do they call that? A creative difference a few weeks back about having a Swiss Army knife be featured on the show. I didn't think it had anything to do with motorcycling. Jeffrey thought it did. He said that everyone had a Swiss Army knife in their toolbox. I told him that I didn't, and I didn't. Last week, Amazon Prime showed up at my house, and there was a box with a Swiss Army knife in it. So I'm going to go with this, and we're going to go with the Swiss Army knife thing from Jeff Kokoski. This is, of course, a good time for you to tell us in writing, in your comment section, rather, whether you think this belongs on the show or not. Jeff did a great job on it, and it was very interesting. So we're just going to rock and roll with this. And thank you, Jeff, for the knife. Although it really bears no connection to motorcycles or even motocross, everyone knows what a Swiss Army knife is. But did you know the history of this multi-tool? Our story begins in 1880 when the Swiss Army decided to purchase a new folding pocket knife for every soldier. January of 1891, the knife received the official designation Modell 1890. A German knife manufacturer, Wester, a company, began to produce the first lot. Interestingly, the knife grips, or scales as they were called, were to be made of oak wood or ebony wood, then treated with rapeseed oil, a type of canola oil, which gave them a better water repellency. Repellency, very good, Jeff. The result was the scales that were a darker black color, even darker than you see right here in the picture. Later in 1891, the Army ordered another batch. This time, Earl Elsner, the owner of a surgical instrument company based in Abbate, Switzerland, was ordered to fulfill the contract. By the summer of 1897, Elsner had developed and improved the knife intended for use by the officers, with tools attached on opposite sides of the handle via a single spring mechanism that operated both sides. The knife scales were replaced with wood fiber instead of solid wood and gave the knife its iconic red color. Aha. Anyway, when it was made, the knife was easy to find. Was it made red because it was easy to find, and when it was dropped, we don't really know. I thought the same thing when I first read the article, that, well, when it was dropped, it's red. You'll see it real easy. We don't really know. Anyway, it became an international success. It put Elsner's company on the top of the Swiss Army knife race. Imagine that. And he had a beautiful place like this. By 1908, all contracts related to knife making were split equally between the two Swiss companies. Elsner was from Germany, speaking part of Switzerland, while Wegener was in the French area, and the government didn't want to play favorites. By mutual agreement between the two companies and the government, Elsner's knife used the slogan, "The original Swiss Army knife," while Wegener's advertised his as a genuine Swiss Army knife. In 1909, Elsner's mother died, and in order to honor her name, he named his brand after her, Victoria. By 1921, the company was making the blades out of stainless steel instead of polished carbon. As airline regulations changed, prohibiting passengers from carrying pocket knives following the September 11, 2001 terrorist attack in the U.S., duty-free shops and airports around the globe stopped selling the knife. The resulting drop in sales began to affect the bottom line of Victo Inex, which was the company named after his mother. Throughout its history, Victor Inex was run by a direct descendant of the Elsner family, and today it is run by the grandson. Very interesting there. Products are shipped to 120 countries to this day around the globe and have even traveled in space. The company produces more than 34,000 Swiss Army knives, 38,000 multi-tools, and 30,000 kitchen knives every day. And there you have it. Wow. That is the long and the short of it of the Swiss Army knife that is brought to you by Jeff Kokoski. And in the comment section, I am interested in hearing what you people thought of that. Jeff comes up with some unusual things. Most of them are related, at least indirectly, to motorcycles. He's done some things on nuts, bolts, axles, hardening, things like that. Everybody thought it was pretty good. I know that Don Kadowski enjoys Jeff Kowalski's segments to the show, and I thought it was pretty interesting as well. I will carry this with me faithfully. It's got a nice toothpick in there, and of course, a corkscrew, which I can open up a bottle of wine someday again. That's another story. Right now, we are going to move on to, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take another commercial break. We're going to hear from our friend Paul Parkinson Sr. from ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com. He was up there in Unadilla just a couple of weeks ago, and he had a beautiful display up there. And, of course, Jerry Maddox was out there. He was racing around. There was a lot happening, and just a good time and a fun time. And I want to show you what Paul Parkinson Sr. does for everybody in the vintage motocross community. Watch this. Great video.
Hi, I'm Paul Parkinson with Replica Motorcycle Parts. I'm sitting here with our test bike, which is ridden by Jerry Maddox. He carries the #1 plate in the US. So let's go over a couple of the parts that we've got on here. We've got our ignition cover with the case saver built into it, so that when the chain comes off, you're not damaging your cases. Spacer, foot pegs. Jerry runs our air box. Seat brackets, keeps the seat on tight so he doesn't fall off when he's going over the whoops. And then this side, Jerry runs a couple little things, a lot of little rubber parts on the bike and stuff are all done by us. And then down here we've got our brake pedal, which has got needle bearings in there, and then it's got a wider toe peg, so it gives them a real nice, clean, easy to use brake. And then this is our latest part. This is a CR250 type knuckle. In fact, Honda used them on the last versions of the MR175s, and this is a real trick aluminum Kickstarter arm. So that gives them lightweight, strength, and reliability more than anything else. Reliability.
There you have it. Paul Parkinson Sr., ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com does a great job. Makes so many different parts for so many different bikes. And there just isn't really, there are not that many people in the industry that do as much as Paul Parkinson Sr. He's got the 1975 air filter band. He makes these Honda gas caps in both black and white. They've got Kickstarter replacements for the CR250 and 125. There's always something new coming up from Paul Parkinson Sr. and ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com. This Week in Motocross History is brought to you by Racer X, available on your newsstand now. Also available online. Hey, Susie, we got anybody coming up on the after I get done with the This Week in Motocross History? We'll give away the poster, okay? Okay. Anyway, This Week in Motocross History. It was 1978. Honda rider Tommy Croft and Marty Smith went 1 and 2 in the AMA 500 National at Sears Point, with Yamaha riders Mike Bell and Rocket Rex Staten following. Yamaha factory rider Rick Burgett won the second moto, but was a DNF in the first moto. Here's a good picture of Marty and Tommy Croft as well. In the 250 class, Bob Hurricane Hanna continued his dominance with another win on his Yamaha, while Kawasaki's Jimmy Weinert took a second. Honda's Jimmy Ellis took third. 1981, Ken Howerton clinched the 1981 AMA 250cc National Championship, his second in a row, after following his bitter rival, Bob Hanna of Team Yamaha, across the finish line at the CDR Tech Track in Castle Rock, Colorado. Howerton won a total of 5 250 Nationals in the 8-race series, while Hanna won the other 3, including Colorado. 1998, the rarest of the rare. This day in 1998 marked the one and only time Ricky Carmichael ever lost at Southwick. The culprit was none other than John Dowd, the living New England legend, who swept both motos on his Yamaha YZ125 to top Carmichael, who DNF'd one moto with a seized engine. And he finished second in the other moto, straight up beaten by the junkyard dog, John Dowd, who also set a record for being the oldest rider to ever win a 125 National at the age of 32. This was only one of 25 races that RC lost in the AMA motocross. He won the other 102 he entered. Could you imagine that? Chaparral Yamaha rider Jimmy Button ended up second overall. FMF's Honda rider Scott Sheik, may he rest in peace, was third that day. Pretty incredible. Carmichael only lost that one time to John Dowd at Southwick. Susie, baby?
Yeah.
What do we got going on in the poster giveaway? Can you tell me?
Oh, so the winner of the viewer appreciation tonight is Dennis Spurlock.
Dennis Spurlock.
Yeah.
That's a new name to the show. I don't believe I've ever heard the name Dennis Spurlock before. But Dennis I want to congratulate you. You have your choice of one of these 10 posters available from the International Motocross Museum. Go to the International Motocross Museum page, pick out a poster, then contact me and tell me which one you want along with your mailing address. I will contact Terry Good. It will come to you in a beautiful tube, and you'll get that in about a week or so. What's his name again? Spurlock?
Dennis Spurlock.
Dennis Spurlock. Dennis, thanks for watching the show. Congratulations on being a winner of one of the International Motocross Museum posters. What else we got going on here tonight, Susie?
I think that wraps it up.
Well, it almost does. I just want to congratulate Jerry Maddox, who's out there on the road representing us and a lot of other sponsors throughout the ARMA Nationals. Vintage Motocross Q&A t-shirts and hoodies are available. Prices start at just $20. Get a hold of us. We sell them right here. We make them right here in the house. In-house, I should say. But they are made in the house.
In the house. They're made in the other room.
They're made just in the other room.
There.
Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorship opportunities are still available. I want to thank all the people who are now on the board behind me. I put this up a couple of Sundays ago, and on Monday, before lunchtime, they were all sold out. Everybody donated $49.95. Some of them continue on till this day. They will give us a couple of bucks every month. They get a t-shirt for doing that as well. We do have an event coming up August 10th and 11th, the Pomeroy Memorial Cup at the motocross track. That happens at 1883 Summit View Road, Titan, Washington. Once again, Motion Pro. They're all over the place sponsoring events. And as usual, we have grips that we give away. We have posters that we give away every week. And you know what? The guy who won the trivia last week, I forget his name, but he won this book. He said he already bought the book, and he has it. We still have another book left from Keith Geisner, Discovering 6 Days. So in an upcoming episode of Vintage Motocross Q&A, we will give one of those away once again. Thank you, Keith Geiser, who also bought a space on our board. Jeff Kokoski, great job as always. And we'll see what we're going to do about a show next week. But we'll give you something. I won't let you down, I promise you. In the meantime, this is Joe Abbate. Thanks for watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Let me see if I can get him. He got a grooming today, so let me get that hound in here. Gina!
That's waiting for you.
Come on, Gene. There he is.
Oh, clean boy.
Thanks again for watching the show. We'll see you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A.